take it a little slower. I don't wake up pregnant.
I'm a different kind of cop.
I don't wanna do your dirty work no more.
Take it easy. I don't want to get pregnant. Found that and couldn't run
Don
faster.
Draper finally getting some respect.
Don Draper getting some respect. Welcome. We are on the penultimate episode before our season 2 finale. Good times. Had a really good time with these episodes. I will be saying. Well, one of these shows that didn't have as a great of time. The other two I had a really good time. So we'll get there.
Try to figure it out.
It'll be pretty quick because it's the first one we're talking about. Mark, how are you? How was your viewing experience?
Yeah, it was pretty good. We added that new clip to the intro, but you're besmirching my guy Pete. Well, what's up with that?
Who?
Scumbag. Oh, also, if we do not all have the same bad guy of the week tonight, I'm going to have some serious problems with all of you. Matt, how are you? How was your viewing experience?
It was good, I don't want to get into too much behind the scenes. We took a break, so it was nice to get a nice, refreshing break. We got a week off, but, I was kind of getting that scratch. I wanted to get back on the show, so I was happy we got to get back in it now.
Yeah, I do think the 1 week break was a nice little reset and just going. But we are back. Didn't miss. Matt did say after the show, that's the end of the show. We're done. We're not doing this anymore because I had to take the week off. Looks like we're still here. Crazy. Because we are a podcast that continues on. And we do have, I think we can say it now. It doesn't really matter because it's going to come out sooner because whatever. But by the time we're watching this, probably, we're going to be doing the Last of Us episode.
Season 2
recap of each week. We will be watching the episodes and then doing a recap. We'll be looking the exact same because we'll probably shoot it right before we do this episode. So if you want to see where we're at, that's where we're at. But yeah, we had some interesting things happen in our shows tonight. We had 4 of The Shield, 3 of Mad Men, and 3 of The Sopranos. So Matt's going to take us through The Shield and season 2, episode 7, I think.
All right, yeah. So season 2, episode 7. I'm going to apologize in advance. I usually, on the day that we record these, I take some time to go through my notes and kind of streamline them. Didn't have time today, so it might be a mess, and we got 4 episodes, so let's do it.
Go. Couldn't have done it on a better episode.
So Barnstormers, the strike team are rehearsing their money train heist, but they're also acting a little paranoid about the green light that Armadillo put out on them. Vic thinks that they need to bring someone in to help take care of their money after they steal with it, because he's already thinking ahead. So they talk to a realtor who buys up real estate as a way to launder money for drug dealers, and they pretty much kind of make a deal, kind of blackmailing him a little bit to help with their money once they get it. Aceveda tells Danny that she missed out on her promotion, and she's still blaming the widow from episodes past, and she's saying everything bad happening is all her fault. Tulips.
We're going to have some more bad things happen.
Tulips, the dancer that Shane slept with in the interrogation room a few episodes back, shows up at the barn saying that she has a case for him snitching on her ex-boyfriend. Shane tells her he's not interested, but Vic, being the nice guy that he is, says that they'll take the case. Shane helps her set up a sting operation, a drug deal, and arrest her ex-boyfriend. Shane is upset because he thinks that she pretty much used him, which she did again. But then he sleeps with her in the interrogation room again, and he kind of makes up for it. They're really a perfect couple for each other. Julian tells his fiancée that he used to be attracted to men, but he's cured now, so it's okay. She tells him that she needs some time to think about it. But later on in the episode, she tells him that she believes that he has changed and they can still get married. Vic congratulates him on all the goodness that's going on in his life. Aceveda tells Dutch that he and Claudette are concerned about Dutch's performance since the one-armed woman case. Dutch hasn't really been himself since then. So he ends up having to interrogate Marcy from that case as part of her plea bargain. She still says that Bob pretty much made her help. Marcy tells Dutch that she didn't fool him, she just let him fool himself. Meanwhile, Claudette and Dutch are investigating a woman who was raped and strangled to death with her own bra. They question Stu, a man who met her for a date the night before but claims that he left because he wasn't attracted to her. They find out he also has kind of like a history of being kind of creepy with women, maybe assaulting them a little bit. Dutch is kind of giving Claudette a hard time for most of this episode because she's expressed her concern to Aceveda. He's also kind of just sleepwalking through this case, as he kind of will with the cases he's not super interested in. But he's just kind of struggling with this one. He knows the guy did it, but he can't prove it. So Dutch asks Vic for some advice. And Vic tells him, sometimes you just got to make the evidence fit the case. So Dutch then goes back to Stu's apartment and plants evidence in his closet. But then pretty much as he's driving down the road, you see him just slam on the brakes, get out of his car, run back into the apartment, and get it before Danny can find it. He then goes back to the interrogation room to do it his way. And he's able to finally make Stu break. So Dutch has pretty much gotten his mojo back. Meanwhile, kind of Vic's thing this episode, he was awoken from his motel slumber to help with the domestic abuse situation across the way. Vic talks to Emma, the woman who ran the battered woman's shelter from a couple episodes ago, about finding a place for the woman to stay. But she warns him that you can't make someone get help. They have to want it. Vic offers to go back to the motel and get her stuff. At the motel, the boyfriend gives Vic an excuse, and Vic arrests him. At the barn, she tries to get back with him, so she pretty much just tries to go back to her boyfriend. When he tries to leave with her, Emma pushes him kind of a little bit of a shove, and he falls over the railing there.
That's an interesting description. Just shove him a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of, because it means a big guy.
Vic just goes to her apartment and waits till he touches him, and then is like, perfect, got what I wanted.
Vic was just waiting for the excuse.
Thanks, done. He's like,
Emma,
at least I'll get some peace. And
all he wanted to do was sleep. He doesn't have a good situation to go right now. He just needs some sleep. Emma is charged, but Vic bails her out. He then takes her back to his motel. So, he some quality time. But when they get to his motel, they kind of have a little smell. They smell something. They see the oven burner is on. And they find Ronnie has been beaten and his face has burned on the stove. And that's the end of this episode.
Yeah. The calling card. Love it. They send him to his apartment, to get the check, so he writes the bail, right? Is that what happened? And then, but he ends up getting the bail, but Ron still gets
he already takes it. He brings her back to the apartment for some quality time.
Yeah, and then he ends up. So we know that what's his name?
Armadillo.
Armadillo is back.
We suspect he was involved. We can't prove it, but there's a pretty good
Him
chance.
and Ron have a similar face right now. So that's interesting. Less hit with a book, but yeah. And I love that everybody's investigating because what's his name? Oh gosh, we take a week off and I forget everybody. The guy that hates Vic, the guy that's always
Aceveda.
She said that, and then that's very similar to the criminals.
Armadillo, yeah, and Aceveda, they both have AIDS.
So I was like, wait, is he saying her name? But he's like, oh man, they're all up my ass, and they're all looking into it. And everybody's like, the one officer's having a and then what? Oh, a guy that got arrested for touching a cock goes flying over the barn and hurts himself. Yeah, it's a wild time in the barn. But I'm excited that the criminal is back. Aceveda, so Armadillo, not Aceveda.
Armadillo, yeah, ramping up his story again. For a little bit at least.
Yeah. I just I mean, I don't know if this was always like Dutch's, interrogation tactics of like, if you can't get a guy to break, and he's like, "Yeah, you're fat. You're fat.
Oh yeah, that was
You
great.
need me to
Like,
tell you something? You're fat."
hey, Hubbo, hey, lard ass. Like, it was like every like man, I should have like fucking
Here's
beat his
that
ass.
Snickers bar you've been staring at for 2 years.
And then he sits there, and then he falls on top of him to like attack it, which is great. It's just like, because right, they end up finding it in his car, right?
Well,
The
I think they lied about that, and
Yeah, they
then like
told
he
him that.
attacked him, and then he just admitted it.
Yeah, so they
Yeah,
never
yeah,
actually found the physical
but he's like,
evidence.
"Oh, how do I get him to do it? Hey, fat ass, like, hey, wide load, yeah, you're fatty, fat, like, come in." And like, I was like, what a tactic. Let's see if the angry fat kid inside of him.
Hey, everyone's
so
got the buttons that can be pushed, so
man, fucking Dutch.
Dutch will find them. All right, so I guess we can jump over to episode 8, Scar Tissue. So Ronnie is loaded into an ambulance as the rest of the strike team and Claudette show up. She tells Vic that she's going to help him take out Armadillo, but Vic says he doesn't need any help. Vic tells Shane and Lem that they need to get to Armadillo before anyone else. Aceveda tells them that the hospital thinks they will be able to do skin grafts for Ronnie, and that he is going to bring in extra help to kind of protect and look out for the strike team. Once again, Vic doesn't want any of that. Claudette thinks that Vic and Aceveda are up to no good in this whole situation. Vic puts out word on the street that they will pay whoever can give them Armadillo's location. It does not take long for someone to reach out to them. A disgruntled gang member, Little Pop, wants Armadillo gone and gives them a tip that will lead them to Armadillo's ID maker. He then leads them to a house with some of Armadillo's men in it, and Shane is attacked by a dog. So that was nice. Well, Shane getting attacked, not what happened to the poor dog. Yeah, that was unfortunate.
They killed a dog.
I mean, it was attacking a police officer.
Attack Shane.
Yeah. So as us,
guy.
yeah.
Bad
I mean, the owner who didn't have the dog properly chained up was probably the bad guy. But yeah, that's for later in the episode. They question Armadillo's men and don't really get a whole lot of information. Meanwhile, Danny and Julian respond to a call with a man who was beaten and hung up on a fence. Dutch shows up and is curious since it doesn't look like a gang thing and the victim wasn't robbed. Dutch brings in a man who was seen fleeing the area where the attack happened. He and Danny interrogate the man, but he claims he was too busy Tokyo drifting at the time. Dutch tells Danny that they don't have enough evidence yet. She does find a bloody scepter, though, near the crime scene, and Dutch does some research into the scepter and discovers that this is a feud between two families that has been going on for centuries. He tells Dutch that it made sense to stand up for his family, and Dutch thanks Danny for her help, suggesting that she continues down the detective path. She tries to give him a kiss, but he pulls away and says he has to go see his girlfriend. So that sucks for Danny. Corinne and her daughter show up at the barn looking for Vic. She tells Claudette that someone broke into their house. Claudette tells her everything about Armadillo, and Claudette asks Corinne if she's seen any extra money coming into the house or any different bank accounts. Vic comes back to the barn and gets Corinne away from Claudette. Of course, Corinne is mad at Vic for not telling her anything, which was pretty much the whole thing, pretty much for the whole show, pretty much. Vic hasn't told her anything. She asks Vic how they are paying for Matthew's school, and he tells her that he needs her on his side. Vic tells Claudette that his family is off limits, and she tells him to tell that to Armadillo. The strike team follow up on some more leads and find Armadillo's house. So they gear up and get ready to go get him. They get a plan where they're going to kind of push through the front door and kind of push into the back where Lem's going to be waiting with a shotgun. But right as they're about to bust in, Claudette and a whole bunch of other police show up, and Armadillo comes out and surrender, as he had already called the police. Claudette wants to interrogate him alone, and Aceveda lets her while he and Vic watch in the other room. However, Armadillo tells her that he will only confess to Vic. Vic goes in and turns off the camera. Armadillo tells Vic that he's ready to go home, and Vic needs to help him. He wants Ronnie to recant his story and for them to get him down to Mexico. Vic starts beating him up, but he realizes that he's kind of like there's nothing really he can do. Armadillo's just smiling at him. He realized that Vic's attack on him was part of Armadillo's plan the whole time in order to make this all work out. Then we go to Danny and Julian bring in Little Pop, who we saw earlier in the episode. He gave the strike team the information on Armadillo because he blew marijuana smoke in their faces. So he ends up getting put in the cage with Armadillo and a bunch of other people. And then a little bit later on, we see Little Pop has stabbed Armadillo several times, killing him. Danny says that he didn't have the knife on him when she brought him in, and Aceveda suspends her.
Crazy.
What is it with you fucking shows picking like great people and then great villain arc that we have? He finally returned, fucking dead. Like, what's the fucking point?
Well, when I get done with this recap, I'll talk because I did the look on that to myself. Claudia tells Aceveda what she thinks happened between Vic and Armadillo, and she pretty much got it spot on. But Aceveda tells her he made a mistake. Vic tells Corrine that he wants some more time with the kids, and she tells him that he can't even be there for the time that he has now. Shane and Lem fill in Vic on the deal they made with Little Pop for him to kill Armadillo. Claudette tells Vic that they both know that it's all Vic's fault. And the episode kind of ends with a montage of everyone leaving work for the day, and Emma is waiting for Vic at the motel room. But yeah, I agree with you, Cody. It did kind of seem kind of anticlimactic. So I did a little digging into it. And apparently the actor who played Armadillo got cast in like some TV I Love Lucy movie or something. So this was the last episode they'd have because the character was supposed to be in this whole season. So they had to kind of figure it out and kind of kill him off now. And that's why the next episode is kind of like a flashback because they needed some time to kind of reconfigure the rest of the season now that they couldn't have him for it. So it's unfortunate.
At least you looked into that. It still doesn't help the season 2 itself because like they were on pace for having a really good season. Because if this was like even if he got taken out at the end of this, because you want to talk about like dumping cold water on what was building, because you had the episode before the burner's on, he's got the face like, oh, he's sitting calling cards. Like nobody of the team that gets greenlit ever gets really taken out. So like, what are we doing? And then this episode happens, and you're like, oh, okay. And then he ends up dying, and you're like, the fuck? And then the very next episode is like literally jumping into an ice bath. I'm like, what are we doing? Like we're in the we're at the end of the season. Like I don't give a fuck about the Bard's original days. I don't care. So yeah, that makes more sense. It still just sucks overall.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was fun.
It was definitely weird. Like I'm not gonna say like it didn't like I guess maybe because I'd seen it before.
Yeah.
And I knew he kind of died in the middle of the season. It's like, well, I didn't think it was like there was like a TV reason for it. Knowing that now, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And I don't know if his ending would have been differently if he was actually in the whole season, how he would have died. I know it makes sense for the situation that the strike team was in. Shane actually came up with a good plan that worked, and they were smart enough not to bring the guy in themselves. They had Julian and Danny do it.
The writers probably thought of that on the spot. Like, well, who's gonna get him? I guess Shane can do it. I don't know.
Shane needs a win. So
who can do this? Who will this not seem weird?
I mean, it is
Shane can do it.
It is really weird because it came off of what was a pretty average episode before. Ends amazing, and then we get this where the story actually is over.
Yeah. Unfortunate. But we got a banger of an episode next to talk about here. Yeah, so episode
I like the
9,
name, co-pilot. That's
co-pilot.
It could be called Cop Out. This sucks.
So yeah, this is 14 months earlier. Pretty much kind of the formation of the barn. So we see Vic and Shane are partners, and it's weird seeing Vic and Shane in suits. Gilroy visits Vic on a crime scene. Gilroy is getting pushed back about putting Vic in charge of a strike team. Corrine is very supportive, though, unlike she is 14 months later. Aceveda arrives at the barn for the first time. I think it used to be a church, it looks like. He meets Vic. They already pretty much just from jump don't like each other. Aceveda and Gilroy give a press conference about the new unit. The strike team gets put together for the first time, and Aceveda assigns them to a drive-by fatality. Vic goes to visit his informant, Connie. She gives him the name Lionel Phillips. The strike team question Lionel's men, and Lem gets in a fight with one, and Vic warns him about witnesses. Danny and Julian see a bloody naked woman run out of a house towards them. Dutch shows up at the barn late, and Aceveda tells him to help Detective Tom Gannon, who is investigating the woman that Danny and Julian found.
Who's that guy, by the way? Like, where did he come from?
He was a detective. Apparently, he was there at the beginning.
And he's gone 5 months later? Like, what?
This whole this whole episode makes no fucking sense. Because how they portray it in the first episode that we get, like, it seems like Aceveda is sitting there and is like, okay, guys, this is what we need to do, and like introducing the team, and like already it seems like he got placed there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what we find out 14 months earlier, actually, he was put there at the same time that Vic was creating or starting as the strike team. So
Yeah.
how the fuck does he not know any corrupt shit has been known? And so you got the benefit of the doubt because we thought you were on the job for 3 fucking months. The problem is you've been on the job 14 months and you think Vic's dirty? Shocker, let's newsflash, he is. Like, it's so, and then there's these characters that are like, oh yeah, these characters just fucking disappeared.
My biggest problem with it was in the first episode, Julian feels like he's been a cop for like 2 or 3 weeks. And now they're saying he's been here for like 14 months.
So why does he still suck at his job? Like, what Dutch seemed like he was like still trying to figure it out then, and now he's got like it's just so you can definitely tell that they just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And
I
you
think
can
they,
tell
like
by
I
the
said,
next
they rushed
episode
through
too.
this. Yeah.
The next episode they had to bring back like the subplot of the beginning of the like, man, we gotta figure it out. Here we go.
They're like, we know we're gonna do like the last 2 episodes, but we got like 3 other episodes. We need to make some shit up real quick.
It's wild.
But yeah, so the woman told the officers that she was kidnapped and raped because her family couldn't pay the ransom. Dutch also meets Claudette. Gannon, who is friends with Vic, talks with the strike team. He tells them that he's been pranking Dutch and that he's heard that Dutch's wife left him for her AA sponsor. So poor Dutch. He's been having a rough go for this whole 14-month stretch.
Yeah, but let's hide his chair from him because he's friendly ribbing.
At least they're not putting dog shit in his desk yet. Danny and Julian learned that a man named Mayfield Duffy stole from a grocery store out of desperation and assaulted the owner in the process. They go to his apartment, and he says he planned to pay the man back when he could, but he said that another neighbor stole his food stamps. They question the neighbor and tell him he needs to give the food stamps back, which he does. Aceveda released all of the strike team's prisoners, and he warns them about sloppy paperwork. He warns Vic that if he can't get his act together, he'll find someone who can. Gilroy tells Aceveda to give Vic a chance. Aceveda brings in Terry and says that he's going to put him in charge of the strike team if Vic fails. Gilroy tells Vic that they need results fast. So Vic tells the strike team they may have to take a shortcut and squeeze a guy from Lionel's gang and maybe plant some evidence to help just this once. They arrest Rondell, but he says that they aren't as scary as Lionel. They talk about planting evidence at Lionel's house, but he always has girls coming and going. So Vic, with his aha moment, uses Connie to plant the evidence at Lionel's place. Lionel starts getting a little rough with her, and Shane has to talk Vic out of busting in to rescue her. Vic and Shane tell Rondell that Lionel is going down, and they intimidate him into turning on Lionel. And his statement is enough to get a warrant. They search the place and find the drugs that they planted, as well as the guns used from the drive-by. Gannon and Claudette question the kidnapping broker who helps families get their loved ones back, although they think he's also involved with the kidnappers. Gannon thinks the broker is a dead end, but Dutch and Claudette decide to keep working the angle. They set up a sting with a ransom drop, catch the kidnappers with the help of the strike team. Claudette and Aceveda notice that Vic is a little rough with one of them. Gannon is upset that Claudette and Dutch didn't keep him in the loop. Dutch tells Aceveda that he wants to partner with Claudette. Vic and Shane talk about how easy it was to kind of break the rules a little bit. Vic starts pranking Dutch as well now. Julian looks away nervously when Lem comes out of the locker room shower. And the episode ends with Vic introducing Terry to the rest of the strike team, and what I'm sure will be a great partnership.
I'm not big with flashbacks in general.
Yeah.
Unless they have like some bearing on the future.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change. I wanted to know where, like, how Shane became like a king, like not Shane. When Vic became like a kingpin, like of like having everybody under him, but it seemed like he was fucking like green 14 months ago, and then all of a sudden started like this. It seems like they didn't have a real plan for this episode or the next episode, and they were like, shit, this character was supposed to catch us through the entire way, and it didn't. So now I don't know what to do. So it seems very convoluted. It seems very unnecessary, and it honestly almost like slams on the brakes of. But there's an episode of Oz that kind of felt like similar to like, whoa, why are we doing this? Not as bad, not as egregious, but like, you know what I mean? Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Maybe him like, oh, the old thing. Like that seems a little. This is way more egregious, but like that's where, whoa, this just feels tonally. Where are we even at? Like this is weird.
Like, I think this kind of episode works, but I think it's something that maybe you would do in like the 4th or 5th or 6th season.
Or something
we just had this at the beginning.
Months ago. Something that happened 14 months ago that plays in the future.
Well, who knows? Maybe something will play in the future.
It does, then that's terrible, right?
I thought you were going to bring up the episode in which that guy from Rudy came in to try to figure out who murdered that white supremacist guy.
God.
I mean, I liked that episode. I thought it was a fun episode.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this, honestly, of them going back and seeing it. Yeah, I think you are right with it. Nothing got added here, and we're just kind of like, oh, this is the origin story. And like, all right, well, we didn't ask for it. And it's in the middle of the season. Like, what? Like, okay, but whatever.
And I just don't feel like it's always necessarily true to like where we met like the characters, because it feels like this episode here is almost like Cody said, implying that like this is the first time that Vic and Shane were kind of like bending the rules and planting evidence and stuff. But like earlier episodes, it sounds like him and Gilroy were doing this stuff for years, or him and Carl Weathers were doing this sort of stuff prior.
I could believe Shane. Mm-hmm. Because at least in the first season, Shane was kind of shook up when they killed that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Vic wasn't though.
Yeah.
So like I don't know, like that wasn't the case. So
maybe Vic's like putting on a show for Shane to kind of get him in deep. Yeah, interesting.
No.
All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. I think, yeah. Oh wow, that's a lot. Okay, wrap this up with episode 10, Coyotes. The auditor's report was leaked to the press. The strike team and Aceveda are not shown in the best light. Corrine calls Vic and tells him that Gilroy called, leaving a message that he's going to come visit. Claudette and tells Danny that it may have been a cop who gave Little Pop the knife in the cage. Gilroy shows up at Vic's house. When he gets there, he tells Vic that they want him to give up Vic as part of a deal, but Gilroy wants Vic to help him get out of the country. Vic brings in Shane for help. Gilroy gives them a key where he has $75,000 locked up that he can use to flee. Vic asks Lem to babysit the new strike team member, Tavon, while he and Shane take care of Gilroy. Lem and Tavon interrogate Lewis, who refuses to give up the car theft mastermind, his cousin Deanon. Tavon attacks him when he insults Lem, who warns him that there are cameras watching them. He threatens to tell Lewis, see, that's a callback to the last episode where Vic warned Lem about witnesses. Now Lem's warning the new guy about witnesses. So.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for attaching those two.
He threatens to tell Lewis's associates that he flipped on Deanon if he doesn't cooperate. Tavon goes with Lewis undercover to meet the guy. Meanwhile, Claudia and Dutch start investigating a robbery homicide of an elderly woman, but the autopsy reveals that the woman had a heart attack. So Dutch is pretty much checked out. Dutch and Claudette find evidence that the burglar who robbed the place was a drug addict. They question a local dealer who admits he sold drugs to a local trans woman named Mancy. They go and find Mancy at a crack house, and Mancy claims to have seen the woman dead and decided to break in and rob the place. So, case solved. Aceveda meets with the chief and tells him that the report is biased. But the chief said he's going to let Aceveda stay on until the election because he figures, hey, if you win the election, you'll owe me a favor. But if he loses the election, he's going to have to resign his current position. Danny and Julian arrest a pair of women. One of them is pregnant, and they were fighting each other. As they are detained, Danny asks the pregnant woman why she is fighting, and she implies that she's trying to lose the baby because it will remind her of the absentee father. Danny and Julian try to convince the pregnant woman to have the child and give it up, and Danny decides that she would even take the baby, not willing to let the woman kill it, but the woman refuses to give up her baby to a cop. Gilroy left the safe house. Vic and Shane find him drunk at a local bar. They bring in a guy to make Gilroy some new IDs. Vic approaches Aceveda asking how Tavon is performing and ordering him to close whatever case he's working on. Vic reminds Aceveda of their deal, and his reaction indicates to Vic that Aceveda is no longer really out on their side, and he's kind of back out for the strike team. Shane informs Vic that a smuggler, Coyote Jack, will be dropping off a group of migrants in town soon. They pick him up and tell him that they want him to take someone across the border into Mexico. Shane informs Vic and Lem that no one is looking for Gilroy, which kind of makes them a little bit suspicious. They search Gilroy and discover that he's wearing a wire. Vic says that they can't use anything that may have been on there because it's entrapment. And now Vic plans to force Gilroy to go to Mexico, but Shane doesn't trust it. Vic informs Aceveda and the auditor lady that Gilroy asked him for help getting out of the country and that he tried to get him to turn himself in. He asked Aceveda to send somebody over to pick him up from his apartment.
That's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like, why didn't you bring it up forward? I don't know.
He's my friend. I thought he would. I thought he'd do the right thing if I just gave him some time.
My friend.
Danny confronts Vic about Armadillo's death. He denies any involvement, but she doesn't believe him. It's revealed that the auditor is behind trying to use Gilroy to burn Vic and the strike team. Gilroy takes a taxi to the pickup point where Vic and Shane confirm that he lost his tail and paid who he believed to be the Coyote, but Vic opens up a nearby van revealing Coyote Jack inside and tells him that he actually paid a hitman and that Vic will call him and order his death if Gilroy is ever caught. Gilroy confesses to Vic that he got too greedy and that there's a lesson there. So we'll see if Vic learns that lesson. The strike team brings in Denon, and Aceveda confirms that Tavon is comfortable on the team. So it looks like Tavon's going to be hanging out with the strike team for a little bit. The auditor informs Vic and Aceveda that Gilroy is gone. He has disappeared. Lem tells Tavon that he did a good job, and Vic says he can stay for now. Julian invites Danny to church, but she turns down the offer. And I think Julian got married in between some of these episodes too, that they kind of just threw in a throwaway line. The auditor and police chief listened to Gilroy's recording, which and Vic made sure was not incriminating. And then the chief tells her that the barn has the highest clearance rate in the city, and her investigation is over. Vic finds Claudette using the department's computer to email her daughters, preventing him from filing the last report that he needs to do so he can go home. He tells her to come to grips with her dislike of him because I'm not going anywhere. And she responds, neither am I. And that's the end of our episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to wrap up the story that we thought we wrapped up at the end of last season.
I mean, it was
because we needed to fill some time.
and yeah, like Claudette, yeah, she's gonna get him. Yeah,
Yeah, Claudette's still after him.
yeah.
Gonna get him.
To be continued.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is weird. Anybody fall asleep during this episode? I did.
What?
I mean, did anybody else fall asleep during this episode? I did.
I was bored in tears. I sometimes sit there and watch something. When something happens, I just go, oh, fuck off. This is literally what happened when Gilroy shot him. Oh, fuck off. What are we doing? We really did not expect that Mexican guy to die as fast as he did. Like, that's what I thought. Like the cast acted by themselves. They stabbed him, and then the group was like, "Wait, we need him for the." We killed him. It's so dumb.
Well, hey, guys, just stick with it. This is one of the rare shows where the later seasons are the better seasons.
That's what you say. And Pete's gonna be redeemed too.
I mean, that has a shot at happening still.
It does not. Yeah.
Speaking of Pete.
Yeah, we can just go to the next
What? We got nothing else? We're gonna hash out this last episode of The Shield.
Yeah.
We can talk about a lot, but yeah, look, you fell asleep during it.
I mean, we'll get there. I like I said, I think that they were put in an unfortunate situation, and they're making the best with it. We're working towards something though.
Again, they have 3 more episodes of the season to save this season, but overall, I didn't hate up to this point. I was up until the episode 8. I was like, let's fucking go, and then the last 3 they just died because of the circumstance they got themselves into.
Yeah, we'll bounce back.
I'm never watching that fucking I Love Lucy TV movie. I promise you that. Ruined the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a good move for the guy, because I'm sure his career has just shot off and gone so far. But
yeah.
I'm trying to think of what that could have been. Like, I do not remember that at all.
I think like Deborah Messing played like because it was like the behind the scenes of I Love Lucy. I think she did one of those like TV movies or something. Like it sounds familiar, like in the early 2000s.
Was it like those Lifetime things of whenever they made like that Saved by the Bell thing? Screech was like, I was in a bad guy. Everybody else was bad guy.
He should have held out, and he could have been in the Aaron Sorkin movie like 15 years later.
Yeah. All right.
Take us to Mad Men.
Yeah, well, if you're gonna go back in time, 60ish years or whatever. Start out with episode 8, A Night to Remember. Yeah, start out. Think I forgot. I think she was horseback riding in the beginning, and like she got up, doing stuff, and she started bugging Don about fixing some wall socket or whatever because she needs that so she can work the hot plate for like this dinner party that they were gonna throw for like a couple of Don's workplace chums because or whatever. Uh, don't know the reason for that. Uh, Good old Colin Hanks. I don't even know if we ever got this guy's name. Like I just call him the priest the whole time
He's
or
Colin Hanks, yeah.
all right, as I realize that like now, I was like he's been around for several episodes. Try to get all their names. I have no idea what his name is. I just have Colin Hanks everywhere. Anyway, he asked for Peggy's
Father
help.
Hanks, yeah.
Yeah, he asked for Peggy's help. He's trying. He wants to put together like this little ad for like this like youth dance that they're gonna do. He's like, hey, like you do this, why don't you just help us out? Just make an ad real quick.
Fuck that priest. My God. Elizabeth Moss should just beat the fuck out of that guy. I can't stand him.
Uh,
Nothing's more upsetting when you work for something and somebody wants to just use your services for free. No? Yeah, idiot.
it's like what?
And
It'll
then
be
not
fun.
happy and then not happy with the free stuff.
Well, I mean, like he likes some of it. If it's the other
Shut up.
people that.
Gosh, your defense of these Mad Men characters piss me off.
Well, anyway, Harry's called in because Maytag got upset about they had an ad something about being like the amazing agitator, whatever, the really dumb name for a washing machine or whatever. And then what do you know? Like it's in front of a movie about a Russian spy who's called an agitator a bunch. So they weren't happy. They wanted their money back. Duck is like, yeah, you got to figure that this can't happen again. We can't have people calling us saying, hey, we're being mixed in with like Russians or whatever. Like we got to fix this now. So
I love that.
Harry now realizes that he needs help reading scripts because he has way too many. He can't do it all himself. Um, he later gets a visit from Roger, and he tells him, "Hey, you gotta. I know you asked for a guy to help out here. This guy thinks you're just trying to gold brick us. Like, what's your deal?" Is like, "Well, I can't do this all myself. It's like, well, tough shit. Just figure out how to do it yourself, and like, we'll see what happens." Uh, then we go over to Don, Duck, and Pete. They're trying to figure out how to market this like Heineken beer. They're trying to sell a strategy that like well off uh, housewives probably buying it. They set up a couple of displays, try to see what happens to this thing.
This was before they could put it in Fast and Furious movies.
Oh yeah. And, yeah, and then we also see Betty housing in some frustration. Like she just can't get this chair to like not wobble, so she just goes WWE on it and just like smashes it into the ground.
We love
Oh, beats the fuck out of that chair.
Then
She's still perfect. She's still perfect. No, nothing wrong with her. I'll tell you that much.
what they like now she has one less chair though. How many chairs does Don have to buy and put around this table? What if that chair was discontinued?
How many women does Don need to sleep with?
Well, I mean, he's got all these chairs. He needs a
At
one
least
for
he's
each
keeping
chair.
chairs in the house.
You know what? That's called checkmate, Mark. Mark, buy as many chairs as you want, as many people you visit in the night. How many cakes did you not bring back?
Well, anyway, yeah, as Cody mentioned earlier, the father is also not happy with the ad that Peggy has. Something about like the dancers are too close. Something about a night to remember. They think they're referencing sex or something.
Fuck out of here.
And then of course she gets put in a room with some hens, and they're like, "We don't like what you're insinuating here. We need to leave some room for the Lord in between these kids." And so the father's given constructive criticism. He's trying to play both sides here a little bit, and Peggy is annoyed. It's like, no, you got to be on my side. I'm the professional here. You don't understand the boardroom antics that we have to put up. So then Joan then gets sent to Harry to help read him with the scripts. So she starts diving headfirst into that. She seems to like the new responsibility. Betty and Don have their dinner party with another guy who works at a ad agency, Roger and his wife, and Duck. And what do you know? Betty does like this around the world type menu. And what do you know? She has Heineken beer right there for everybody to see. And everybody was kind of laughing about it, like, "Hey, like, Don, looks like you nailed the group or whatever. I guess you may be right about this Heineken strategy or whatever." And of course, after everything's up, Betty then brings us up to Don about being upset. That you embarrassed me. Like, you guys made fun of me for buying the whole Heineken beer. Listen, you may bring up stuff. It feels like she was overreacting. And she's not really mad about the Heineken beer because she eventually brings up, "Oh yeah, you're also fucking Bobby Barrett. I know about that too." Like, she brings that up to Don.
And then Dawn does a masterpiece of gaslighting.
The best you'll ever see in your life. There's a reason why he keeps getting away with it. He just knows how to talk around in circles. Uh, yeah. So yeah, and Betty just wants him to admit it. She's just tired of all of it. The next morning, she's still in her dress from the dinner party from before. She starts tearing through the house, trying to find any sort of evidence about any of this. Uh, yeah, they then go to the Heineken group. He tells like they tell him about what happened with Betty in the supermarket test. So the Heineken people at least bought it. You know that. And Joan and Harry were also able to sell some ad time about some interesting show that Joan thinks people are going to be able to turn it off. So they want to. I don't remember the company who was buying the ad time, but I'm sure they were a hell of a show. Um, yeah, and then because of Jones' work, Harry is able to get that position that he wanted just to dedicate to reading scripts. So, win for Harry. Uh, Don then comes home and yeah, he sees Betty just, in the bed. She's like, I can't find anything. There's nothing here. There's no evidence. I don't know what it is. Like what's happening. And then yeah, as Matt brought up, yeah, just still ultimate gaslighting. He goes and sleeps on the couch, and she's like, "Listen, I don't like you gotta give me something. Like, you gotta tell me anything." He's like, What do you want me to tell you? Like, I'm here, all right." What? Like, I say I love you all the time. He's like, "No, you don't. Like, what are you doing right now?"
Lying bitch.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we go on. Harry does hire somebody. Joan sees that. He's hired and he doesn't need her to read the scripts anymore. And she seems a bit let down by it. She definitely seemed to like what she was doing before. Uh, Peggy then brings the father to the office, and they're printing off the flyers for that dance. And he just kind of prods her throughout that whole time. Just he tries to get her to confide in him about the the stuff that he clearly already knows about, the kid out of wedlock and such. And like Peggy is like, mind your fucking business, father. Like whatever is he hears, between me and God. Okay, like he knows.
Leave some space
Like,
for the lore.
yeah. Then and in the middle of the day, Betty is watching the kids, and she sees that Jimmy's Utz commercial, and he says the old line like, I don't know, am I crazy? And then what do you know, she picks up the phone, calls Don and say, hey, don't come home. Like, I don't care what you do, just don't come here. I don't need you here.
Good
So
for
then
her.
yeah, see Don drinking a Heineken beer in the office as the camera pans out as we hear Colin Hanks strumming to his guitar and singing us out this episode.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best acting episodes. I think January Jones is killing it. The way she like bounces back. because all she knows is speculation. Like she doesn't really have like the real evidence, but she knows well enough. And then like the classic, like you don't tell me you love me. I do it all the time. No, you don't. Like, what are you talking about? Like we view a very little of this relationship. No, you don't. Let's be real. But like she knows, and like she's battling back and forth, and Don's like such a whipped boy at this point. He's like, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll sleep in the office. Like, Mom says I can't come home right now, so bye. I loved it. I think these 3 episodes are so good.
Yeah. Yeah,
Matt?
the show should be called Unhappy Men, because this is just no one is happy right
They're
now.
all fucking depressed.
I mean, Pete looks like he's having a blast right now.
Yeah.
He's doing
That's because
all right.
Pete is trash and he doesn't know what emotions are and stuff. He doesn't know what unhappiness would be.
He was trying to figure it out. He wasn't sure.
No, tell us next episode how much of just trying to figure it out, guys.
I will say though, I like that it took Cody about how many viewings of Breaking Bad to get on Skylar's side, but from viewing 1, he's on Betty's side. He's like, Don's a creep, he's a jerk.
And you're a team woman over here. Team woman. Up the men, team woman, right here.
I mean, she was going a little crazy though. She was really digging through the house. I mean, she's trying to find all the stuff. She's still in her dress.
Kids.
Nice try trying to think the woman is crazy. Interesting.
Wearing the clothes from the day before and everything.
She also has some health concerns that run in the family. All right, you want to talk about those? We'll talk about them in episode 10.
I mean, we'll get there.
Why don't you go piss on your leg?
I mean, she's got some bigger fish to fry going down. Yeah. Anyway, I think we're good. Let's go on to episode 9. 6-month leave. 6-month leave. Yeah. Another historical thing has popped up in Mad Men. Marilyn Monroe has died. Seems to be hidden everywhere. Yeah.
Question: should I count Marilyn Monroe dying in the kill count?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you should.
Wait, but does that mean we got to count the plane crash as well?
Shit, yes, we do.
I haven't looked up the numbers for the plane crash yet, but I will. So far, I
think it was 60 people.
Was it 60?
Did they say it? Okay.
I think they said it.
I'll make a note to double check on that.
Oh,
and add his brother to it too.
That really adds some perspective, at least on this Mad Men's kill count. Just going into the kitchen and say that much.
It's halfway to the shield.
They're going to need the help to get closer to the other two. So let's give them the plane crash.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Also, yeah. There's something about like some blood drive that's happening in the office. They're trying to get people to donate or whatever. I don't know why I wrote that down, honestly. Don's assistant had a slip up. Sally had called his office, and she asked like, "Hey, when is my daddy coming home?" And she's like, fucking Wednesday. I don't know. Like he's coming back for his trip then." And she's trying to poke into Don's life. He's like, "Let's keep this thing professional here, lady. Like just answer my phone, okay? And don't tell my kid anything else, and we'll be good." Then of course we got Freddie, Salvatore, Peggy, and Pete. They're preparing for the Samsonite meeting, and Freddie already seems a bit out of sorts. He gets Salvatore a bit of a heavy pour of some liquor before, and they're going through the strategy. And then we just see Freddie just kind of standing in the corner. Looks like he's slightly relieved, and then we just start seeing piss running right down his leg, and everybody's, "Whoa, what the fuck you doing, Freddie?" He's like, so shit. What we were talking about, Samsonite. What's going on?" It's like, and then Peggy's like, "Hey, Freddie, you got another pair of pants around here? Like, you got piss all in front of your." He's like, fuck, I don't realize. Just give me a minute." And then what do you know? He passes out on the chair, and everybody thinks he's dead. Pete is like, "Nah, he's just fucking passed out. This drunk goddamn asshole." And then what do you know? The Samsonite people are early. They're already here, and they're like, "Well, Freddie can't go to the meeting. Like he's got a wet spot."
He's alive. So funny.
Just like how Pete doesn't really even care. He's like, "No, he's fine.
Why is it inconveniencing me?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they're like yeah, Freddy can't leave this room. Like he is fucking gone right now. Uh, let's just do the meeting without him. We'll figure it out. Peggy can sell this thing. We'll just tell Freddy that the meeting was off and he's sick or whatever. So they managed to figure out this whole kerfuffle without Freddy.
They should
Uh,
have tried to weekend at Bernie's it and just like carry his body into the meeting, but
I
next
mean,
time.
they still have that problem with the wet front pair of his pants. Like I don't. There's no workaround for that one, unfortunately. Uh, yeah, there was also a bit of like Betty's friend coming over to like borrow a dress for something that will come into play later, I guess. Freddy also wakes up and he just kind of slinks out of the office. He realizes he got pissed in front of his pants, and everybody, I guess, as he's walking through the office, just hears like some squeaks. So like, what the fuck? Am I at a water park or some shit? Like,
His shoes are full of piss.
like where is the squeaking coming from? Yes. We then see Roger. He finds Joan in his office, and she seems to be upset about the whole Marilyn Monroe thing. Uh, he tries to, calm her down a bit. Don and Betty discuss him coming back. Betty clearly not ready for it. She's still kind of going through her thing. And then and then of course like they try to figure out a story to tell the kids, and Don comes up with a plausible story a little bit too quickly, which does bother Betty a bit.
Just a little
Uh,
bit.
Also,
uh,
like, not to mention, like, she's like, I never wanted the kids in between this. And he's like, you didn't tell me. I'm playing by your rules. You want me to come back on the weekends? Like, I'm working on a thing. I'm staying up at that fast, huh? Thought about it that fast. Oh, love it. She's such a boss.
yeah, we got Freddie. He checks in with Peggy, see how the meeting went. They were able to handle it. Uh, Betty tries to break into Don's desk, like she knows that something's in there. Carla catches her. Pete then reports what happened with Freddie to Don, Roger, and Duck. And
He just be snitching.
yeah, of course, Duck and Roger hear about this, and like, yeah, he's got to go. Duck is like, yeah, I don't want him working on any of my accounts. Like the guy is a disgrace. Like we make all these like little drunk jokes behind his back, but yeah, like that goes out the door whenever you piss your pants like right before a meeting. So like we can't have this. Uh, Don is against it though. Like since it is somebody in his shop, he doesn't want to see Freddie go, but it has to be done.
I love Rogers. Like, your loyalty is becoming a weakness.
Well, Don needs to set the precedent that pissing your pants won't get you fired, just in case.
I mean, I like how Roger brings it up too. He's like, no, we're not talking figuratively pissing your pants. We're talking about a literal wet pair of pants. Betty does finally get out of the house. She goes horseback riding, and she runs into that bad rider guy. I forget his name. She, kind of sparks this idea in her head because she was supposed to have lunch with one of her friends. It's like, oh, well, and I invite this guy. They seem to, be friendly to each other. I'll invite this guy on the lunch with my friend. Like he ought to like that. So she has that going on. Don then gets upset with the guys when he catches them making fun of Freddy about him. Like, oh Jesus, the old like wet pair of pants thing. Don and Roger take out Freddy, break the news to him. He's of course not happy about it, but he eventually accepts it, and they have a night on the town, if you say. Like they get drunk at some place. They head over to some like underground like gambling parlor brothel type place.
Mhm.
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, go.
Okay. All right. But yeah, they get out in this gambling parlor thing, and like they're like drunk making jokes, like they're having a good time, and And what do you know? Like, Roger and Don, just start talking about some life. And it's like, hey, I know you're just staying at the office, just you just gotta tell Betty what she needs to hear, all right? And like everything will be okay. And like Don was like, yeah, I'm not. I like listen, it's fine. Like, we'll get over it, work through it, or whatever. Let's just make sure Freddie's having a good time. What do you know? Who happens to show up? Good old Jimmy Barrett. Jimmy Barrett walks through the door, and he's cutting it up with Freddie, and like Freddie is like, hey, like look at who's here, and Don walks up to him and doesn't say a word and just hits him in the face. Of course, they are pulled apart. Of course, they all get kicked out. Uh, so, and that unfortunately puts a damper on the night. They then have to say their goodbyes to Freddie. Freddie is like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Who am I if I don't
Oh,
go into that office?
heartbreaking.
Like,
Who am
yeah.
I if I don't go into the office every day? So sad.
I mean, he's like, and Dom's like, well, don't worry, it'll be okay. Like, just it'll all work itself out. Just a fresh start. Like which Don's pretty big on those. He's pretty big on fresh starts. Just kind of
He
getting
knows
like
how
it.
to do it. Just
You know,
make him go to a thing and steal somebody's dog tags.
uh, and of course, so then they all go. Freddie then goes his separate ways. He is now starting his 6 month leave. Uh, Don and Roger then go to another bar and they start talking about life and like where like what happens and so this and like Don is like, yeah, she kicked me out and like I honestly don't feel that bad about it, just you know um I just gotta move forward, just figure it out. And Roger is like, huh, you don't say, move forward, that sounds like, I don't know, I'll think about that. Just food for thought, if you will. uh Then go the next day. Peggy is the one who is getting promoted since Freddie is forced out. Uh, all of Freddie's business will now go to her. Don mentions that he would have wanted to hear of what happened to Freddie from her. Yeah, he did not like getting ambushed by Roger and all of them, and that. And then Peggy is like, "Well, I don't like. I didn't think anything would come of it. Like is what it is. And like I don't know if how good I feel about getting promoted this way." And like Don's like, "No, it's happened. We're just gonna keep going. It's all right." Uh, she then goes to Pete's office. Peggy confronts him and is like, "What the fuck, man? Why'd you tell him about Freddie? We all just would have laughed about it in a week or so." He's like, and then Pete is like, "Come on, like we're gonna get raises. It's fine. Like
Yeah,
just
Pete, just great guy. Great guy.
like
Hey,
just
help Peggy get a promotion.
Fuck off.
yeah, he's a good friend.
I'm pro woman on this show, but this sucks.
He says congratulations, good guy. uh, yeah, of course. And then yeah, then we get to that lunch that Betty was supposed to go to with her friend. That guy, the horse rider guy, comes in like, "Hey, look at this! I didn't think we'd run into each other here. What a crazy deal!" And then we go back to Betty at her house, who had no intention of going to that lunch. So I guess she set him up or something. Like I'm honestly not
Wasn't her
100%
friend married?
yeah, so like I'm not 100% sure what Betty's intentions were. Like she could have just canceled this fucking lunch.
Yeah.
What was like I don't know what that was all about, but
She didn't want to
whatever.
let
Like
her friend down, so she gave a substitute in there.
I guess, and she didn't even talk bad about her husband either. She was like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a great guy." Like, oh, by the way, here's this guy that tried to do something with me in this horse stall like a couple weeks ago. Like, have fun.
She's trying to make everyone else unhappy too.
Anyway, yeah, weird. Uh, Anyway, we then go back to the office. Don's was in a nap. He gets interrupted by Roger's wife Mona. She says, "Hey, the fuck did you tell Roger?" He's like, I don't know what you're talking about." They're like, "Well, he said something about you got to move forward and all this stuff, and now he says he's leaving me for his secretary. The fuck?" And then, like Don was like, "I did not say that. I don't know what you're talking about." And then Roger comes in and is like, listen, you just got to calm down. And Mono is like, nah, fuck this shit. You go to hell. And then we see then Roger kind of comforting Jane, realize that Roger is in fact sleeping with Dawn's secretary, Jane, who comes out of complete left field. Like they maybe hinted at one time. Okay, and then I guess they're going off together, and then Roger I think goes to try to apologize to Dawn, and Dawn was like, "Yeah, you can get her off my desk. Like this is horse shit." And that is where 6-month leave ends.
I mean, she wasn't a great secretary anyway, so
She was better than his last girl. Like, admittedly. I mean, she
Didn't
made
take
the
a
one
lot.
mistake. She made the one mistake of maybe like doing the oh shit, I didn't mean to tell Sally you like that. That was her one thing.
Didn't take a lot to be better.
There's a lot of bittersweet endings for people. So I know Peggy's like advancing, but she's not happy about how it's happening. Roger, I'm sure he's probably happy, but kind of sad that he's also kind of leaving his wife at the same time. So the whole Betty and Dawn stuff is still just yeah. Dawn got a good punch in though on the one guy. So
Oh, that was great.
my favorite part of this episode was when they go to that little club place, and Roger can't remember the password, so he just gives the guy $20, and then remembers the password as soon as he walks by him.
It's like how he hands him 5 at first.
Yeah.
And he pockets it. I was like, all right, well, like what's the password? Like, what? You can't do that. I already handed you the money.
Yeah, I thought it was a great episode. I think like I said, these 3 episodes are super, super good. I thought it was real interesting how they like the 6 months leave. Like he'll know exactly what that means, and like it shows that Don has a heart, but just doesn't know how to portray it. So that's just the difference. But no, I overall really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was really, really good. And I did love when Jimmy got knocked the head and he was like, so it was like, how'd I do, Floyd? Tyler good? Like, you're an idiot. Like, I hate you so goddamn much. But it was good.
So are you back on Don's side when he punched him?
No. Because Jimmy just told her the truth about him being a scumbag to his wife, and I support that. Team woman.
But Jimmy also called that owner, he called her the Hindenburg.
I love that line.
that was anti-woman. So.
He called her Pinocchio's whale. He told her to open her mouth and see Geppetto fill it out.
Funny. I'm a big person. I can laugh at that.
Well, all right. Well, then let's just finish off Mad Men. Going to episode 10, The Inheritance. The Inheritance. We have Don. He's talking to Pete and Kenzie. Pete and Kenzie are getting ready for this like airspace conference. I think they called it the Rocket Fair or whatever. They going over to California to talk with like these flight places to try to see if they can get any of their kind of these ad campaigns for like some government contract, so to speak. Pete's wife talks to him about adopting a child. Pete doesn't seem to be super thrilled with the idea of like, oh, it's not our kid or whatever. I'm like, oh, well. So he's not happy. He's like, do I gotta put my foot down? Like, Trudy just wants a kid. Okay, it's like, and Pete, just like, he's all natural, so to speak.
Trudy is too good for Pete. We need to rescue Trudy. Her and Betty just need to run off Thelma and Louise style and just get away from these guys.
I mean,
So true.
You're not gonna get the argument from me. As far as the Allison Brie part of it, like Allison Brie, like deserves way better.
These women in this show, I'm telling you, showed up on a different set. Oh, jeez.
Just throw them and Joan and Peggy. They can all load up in a car and go to a new show.
They can all just be satisfied with who they have in front of them. I'm just saying.
Have a Happy Women spinoff.
Yes. Watch that.
Oh, Yeah, talking about sad women. Betty then calls Dawn up. Says, "Hey, I just heard my dad just had a stroke." Uh,
Yeah, runs in
Dawn,
the family, jackass.
Dawn is like, "Listen, all right, let me go up there. We'll go, let me go to the house. We'll go up there together. Just leave, the kids with the neighbor. We'll see how he's doing." They get there, and Betty's dad, he just seems okay. He seems like in fine spirits, and everybody is like acting like this is fine. But he does mistake Betty for his late wife. So unfortunately, like definitely not 100% fine. He also admits that this is also isn't his first stroke. He's like may have had a couple. He wouldn't give a hard number, so like there's a chance we don't know the exact amount. They just like it's like what? It's a couple strokes, it's whatever. It happens.
Little
uh,
ones.
yeah. So yeah, they're dealing with that. Pete um, accidentally tells Kinsey's girlfriend about their L.A. trip. Uh, yeah, I mean, listen, I could say a lot of things about Pete. Pete cannot take a hint. He keeps going on and on about like, yeah, we're going to the old fair over in Los Angeles, good old California, IA. Uh, yeah, Kinsey's girlfriend was not happy about that. She wanted to go like on one of those I get one of those like civil rights, voting rights bus trips down south. She thought that Kinsey would go with her, and she's like, "What? Like this trip, came up last minute. What can I do? Like it's a work thing, baby.
Work.
Come on. Like they expect me to go. Like so, he's a bit in Dutch there. Pete and Pete's brother didn't discuss what is left of their father's estate, and they're like, well, like we had to do all these things. There's a little bit left for our mom. Maybe it'll last the rest of her life. Not really, probably not. We'll see what's going on. We'll sign the papers and get that finalized a little later. Uh, Betty's brother does admit that uh, their dad has been acting a bit strange. um, that maybe he's maybe a bit sick. Still, for the most part, the family is acting like this is business as usual. Dad, he's okay. Like he'll he'll mistake his daughter for his late wife, but other than that, he's aces. Uh, not Betty. Betty's dad snaps at Don though in the bit for being a mystery. He's like, "What? He's got no people. You can't trust a guy with no people." Like, which, not wrong. Doesn't know that though. Pete's mom then chastises him for considering adoption. Uh, and Pete is like, he's like, yeah, fuck you, bitch. Like, let me tell you about what Dad left you. Like, he left you a big old nothing. Why don't you go ahead and tell her? It's like, oh, there's something or whatever. So yeah, Pete then gets so there on his mom.
I will
Where
give Pete a point for standing up to his mother there.
That
One
was
point.
that was good. That was good. That was good.
uh,
Yeah, also like just the hate on about adopting children. By the way, brother code like failed miserably. It was like it came up. How the fuck does it come up in conversation? You stupid. Like,
So, what do you
he's
think
like,
about adoption?
why don't you tell her? Why don't you tell her about her money?
These are good mashed potatoes. We should adopt them. Oh, while we're speaking of adoption.
Yeah, did you hear Pete wants to adopt a child?
yeah, crazy. Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. Well, after spending the night, Don and Betty, turn in for the night, and Betty, she's feeling a bit down. She's like, "Oh, like Don's here, and I need some of that vitamin D." I mean,
Whoa!
Don
Technical
Don was a
foul.
true gentleman and was going to sleep on the floor. So.
he
Well, he
did.
did sleep on the floor.
Yeah. And
He
then
just porked on the floor as well.
yeah, they didn't transfer over to the bed. I thought that was a little weird. Like
Yeah.
he stayed on the
He's
floor too.
That would
After
make
he's
it
not
more
good enough
official.
for the bed. He's not good
This
enough
was
for the bed.
spontaneous.
yeah, that was actually probably why he was on the floor. She wanted to do it on the floor so that whenever they were done, she can just go on the bed because she knew that like this isn't an invitation for the bed. You're staying on the floor. So yeah, we then get to breakfast the next morning. Everybody wakes up, and Betty's trying to clean up, and then yeah, Gene, the father, Betty's father, gets a bit more mixed up. Also, again, mistakes Betty for his late wife, and he feels her up a little bit. It's a real awkward moment. Nobody knows how to deal with it. But it's like, damn it, Dad, we're gonna have to take you to the doctor. You're getting people confused again. Like, still, family is not treating this as you probably should. So very, very, very off. And Betty is, of course, very shook by this. It's you believe so. She then talks to her old housekeeper. Uh, and the housekeeper is like, yeah, he's been bad. Um, and apparently, like, heard from the who he's with, that she was talking to the doctor, and he's only going to get worse from here. So not much you can do. Just go home, and it'll be like this, and we just kind of be a mother to your kids. Uh, so that's what Betty and Don do. They return home, and yeah, like that night and this trip still didn't do anything. Still does not want Don at the house. He is still not welcome. So he then leaves, heads back over to the office. They're throwing a baby shower for Harry. They're having a good time, and then maybe one of the most, probably the hardest I've laughed at any one of these shows this whole run. Bert Cooper pops into the party. It's like, hey, I just wanted to say happy birthday, and then leaves. Stop. Fucking hilarious. I could not
Need
stop
more
laughing.
Bert.
I had to rewind it. I lost a good 30 seconds of what happened there. Uh, yeah, Don then tells Roger that he is actually, in fact, going over to this Rocket Fair conference. Um, so we're just gonna leave Kinsey behind. He'll go with Pete, and then yeah, Kinsey finds out he's actually not going, and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, can't all three of us go?" And it's like Jonas, like, "Yeah, I need your ticket. Like, you're not going. Like, you're staying behind." He's like, God damn it! Like, like, whatever. Like, he goes to his office, collects his stuff, and he calls his girlfriend. He's like, "You know what? I thought about it. I think you're right. I'm gonna go on this trip with you. I'm not gonna let you go
Work be
without me."
damned.
Yeah, he's on the phone as he's collecting his material. It's like, no, baby, you're right. Like, like I'm gonna do this for you. uh, we got Pete and Peggy talking about yeah, Pete. You know, I will give you guys this. Pete should probably be kind of scared about going on a flight, but he doesn't really know how to feel. It's like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel. I'm going on a flight. My dad died. I don't know what's going on. And then Peggy's like, "Cool, bro," and then just kind of leaves him there.
Yeah.
Like, not really sure what to say in that situation. She just kind of leaves him with his drunken thoughts.
Was she
Uh,
the one that like told him like the odds of it happening to two people in the same family are very small? Or was
yeah,
it somebody-
it's like I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you're good.
Your plane probably won't crash. You'll probably
It's
be
not like you're
okay.
living a time where planes are just dropping out of the sky or anything.
Oh, like, but, yeah. So anyway, Betty then sees the dog barking at the playhouse. She's like, what the fuck's going on over here? And what do you know? Glenn, he's hiding in the playhouse. He
Fucking
ran
Glenn.
Yeah, our
ran
favorite.
away from home. He's like, all right, get in the house. We'll figure this out. What are you doing here? It is Glenn is like, I don't know. They told me I don't think my mom likes me. I may go live with my dad. I don't know. It says a bunch of stuff. And it's like, well, why don't you go take a bath? I'll wash your clothes. We'll have some lunch. And what do you know? Like they enjoy a lunch together. They're sitting on the couch, to drink, like watching I don't know, some TV or whatever. And they seem to be having a good time. I mean, and he goes for the old handhold, and that's when things start to feel a little okay. I don't know where we're going with this. And
Glenn's shooting his shot.
and Glenn is like, I came here to rescue you, and it's like, oh, go. Well, what's this shit? Where are we heading here? Then what do you know? Carla and the kids come back from the park or whatever, and then Betty is like, hey, you remember the kids? And Glenn gives the kids a look like, hey, we're kind of in the middle of something right now. Can
You're
you,
kind of
like, get
blocking
outta
me here.
Yeah.
You fucking mind? God damn.
All I needed was 5 more minutes to close the deal.
I told her I just had money.
So yeah, of course, like she puts Glenn with her kids. She of course calls Glenn's mother, Helen Bishop. It's like, hey, he's here, and she shows up, and Glenn's shocked and is like, what, like whatever, and she takes Glenn home, and Glenn lets Betty have it. Like, I hate you. I just want you to know that I hate you. And then Betty is like, yeah, that's fine. Like, par for the course, I guess. See you later, Glenn. Helen then comes back and he's like, hey, what the hell is going on with you and my sons? Like, I don't know, man. You just showed up. I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like,
We're
you
in
just
love.
yeah, just feels unloved or whatever. Like, you just gotta do that. And but she also tells him, yeah, me and Don are separated. They do seem to have a bit of kinship there. He's like, hey, is it over? He's like, I don't know, still figuring it out or whatever. We'll see. And then that happens as Don and Pete are on a flight to Los Angeles for said space fair, and that does cap off the inheritance and this week of Mad Men.
So we get
It
to
was
look
good.
forward to Don and Pete's California adventure.
It was good. I could have done without Glenn.
You sure?
Glenn's
Come
fun.
on, like, we had some great moments.
He's the fucking worst. Like, let's just do it. He's fucking worst.
It's the weirdest fucking thing ever, but like, man, this has a bit of spice
You're
in
pro
it.
child endangerment. I'm out.
I mean, you can't blame the kid. He already got a lock of her hair, so I mean...
I sure as hell can blame the kid. I 100% can blame the kid.
I will applaud the casting department here. They picked just the weirdest looking kid for the role.
That's
And
true.
he's still not a weird looking kid. He has stayed a weird looking kid, and we've gone like a year or two further into this. Like,
Yeah,
I
but it was
don't.
good.
Betty does seem to like it though. She's not creeped out at all somehow. Like, I like. Betty's a trooper. She knows how to handle this.
I think, isn't the kid who played Glenn like the son of the creator? Let me look that up.
Wouldn't shock me. I don't know. Can't attest to that.
Yeah, Martin Wiener. So yeah, he's Matt Wiener's kid, I would assume.
Oh,
That's
what a terrible
That's a terrible name. Poor
fucking
guy.
Wiener.
Even
Or is it
being on
Weiner?
TV is
Weiner, maybe.
being on TV is not saving that kid. No, the kids are calling him Martin Wiener. Oh, look at this little Wiener over here.
The Sopranos would make a 3-minute joke on that. What do you think, Matt? Good?
Yeah. I mean, all 3 of these episodes are really solid. I think this is, like, out of the 3 shows, I think this is the one that's kind of doing the best job of, like, building up as we're getting closer to the end of the season. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting into those last 3 episodes and see where it goes, or refresh myself on where it goes.
I will say, like, every time I do rewatch a show, I always think like I don't like season 2 for some reason. The couple of rewatches, like season 2 is kind of lit up, like, at least for me. Like, they like this season does have like a few really nice, like, high moments.
Yeah.
Honestly, really does kick into gear after Gold Violin. The thing that I always thought that was kind of the one good episode. No, it's just kind of the initiating thing that just kind of gets this season going.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to some stand-up citizens. The Sopranos. Full leather jacket. Some fun things happen in this episode. Carmela is hiding acceptance letters, basically, from Meadow about Berkeley going to California because she wants to stay at home. and is talking to the neighbor because her sister went to Georgetown and he wants her to write her a recommendation letter so Carmela can go and says whatever rational human being would ever say if somebody came up and asked them a thing. Well, she doesn't know Meadow. Well, you know Meadow, so you can get her to write it. Awkward, weird. Richie has a gift for Tony. It's a new leather jacket, sitting title for the show. And then finds out that Richie finds out that Tony is going to be responsible for putting in a ramp at the guy that he ran over his house. And I was like, oh, really? Yeah, that's what you're doing. Which doesn't go over well with the family because Richie also goes to the guy and like threatens him, if you talk to fucking Tony Soprano one more goddamn, I'll finish the job. They drop off at the house to do the work, and they say, well, who sent you? And he's like, Richie, I don't want that. Listen, this is happening whether you like it or not. Tony Soprano. So ends up getting the ramp put at the house. Meadow and Jackie Jr., they're dating, so that's always good. And just wanting to know why her Berkeley letter got all stained up and what happened to this thing. Like, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it. Christopher and Adriana's relationship is not good since the last time we met them, and then he shows up at her sister's house and be like, hey, let me in. You're not welcome here. Shut the fuck up. He pushes the way upstairs. I want to marry you. Well, great. So they agree to get married. Sister goes, when those tears come back, don't come calling to me because fuck you. Like, this guy is just miserable. Yeah, he probably just stole that out of a fucking the jewelry store place. Like, I hope you enjoy it. And then they end up having wild sex. So apparently it's great when you decide to be forever. Okay, cool, awkward, weird.
Moral of the story: put a ring on it.
Those two young guys, Matt and Sean, tried to. Well, they're working with Christopher. They try to impress Christopher. Christopher's really not having it much, but they meet Richie, and Richie hates Chris. Like, makes it known that he's not a big fan of Christopher. And they're like, oh, anything you need to do, like, we'll be here to help. And Richie goes, yeah, let me know if you can ever help me out. And they leave. So see if that pays off. Big pussy, Carmela. So the sister of the neighbor, they go over and meet and go, hey, can you write this? I'm not writing this. Okay. Well, I really need you. What's she going to do? I don't know. So he ends up showing up. She brings her a cut pie or salad and says, hey, have you wrote that thing? Oh, I already wrote it. No, I'm gonna need you to write the letter. I'm a of the court or whatever. You're a lawyer, okay? And I need you to write the letter. So you're gonna write and then like leaves the transcripts. And then the sister walks over at one part of looked at her transcript. It's great. Did I mention I showed her the transcript? Yeah, you did. You did a good job. So that is overall. Tony Soprano has a meeting with Matt and Sean. Well, they storm into the bathroom. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, not reading the room, not knowing how to approach Tony at all. Tony has no business with it. So they get frustrated. Then I think Tony sends the Italian hit guy over to the thing to collect the money from Matt and Sean, and they're like, hey, it's this much money. Pay. So they pay, and then he's like, it's an extra 1,000. The fuck? Chris only said 10%. 1,000. And then he said, these two suck each other's cocks. And then they left him in their underwear, which I thought was pretty funny.
That's how bros get high together.
Yeah, we just hang out in our tidy whities, you know.
Yeah.
Watch some TV, yeah.
And then the big moment, Christopher's heading to his car. Matt and Sean pull out, and they shoot Christopher. They fire 2 shots. Christopher gets I don't know which one, Matt or Sean. Sean.
Yeah.
Kills Sean. Kills Sean by shooting him while fucking Matt just launches bullets and never looks where he's shooting and just aiming, and he runs. And I have not laughed harder this 2 seasons than when Matt shows up at Richie's and they're like, "Hey, did you hear what happened to Christopher?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And then he's like, "Yeah, we did. What the fuck you doing here? You said you didn't like him. So what?" He's like, "Hey, I'm with you now." "Oh, fuck you are. Get out of here. I'll kill you myself." And so
Chases
chases
him out
him
with
with
a
a bat
bat.
and launches him. And then Christopher is got tubes and he is in intensive care. Thoughts?
I'm gonna need these people to learn how to shoot if they're gonna try to kill Christopher.
Oh god, am I right? Ugh.
They were hitting everything but Christopher. They're hitting the ground he's on, the cars. They may have hit a old lady off in the back, but yeah, terrible shot. You gotta usually look at what you're shooting at. If you're gonna hit somebody.
You did miss my favorite part though, is when Richie comes over to visit Carmela, and the maid, they're gonna give the maid the spare TV, and the maid's husband walks in wearing the coat that Richie gave Tony, and I audibly was like, "Oh no!" So now Richie's kind of pissed off at Tony even more that he extended this olive branch of this coat that Tony always liked, and he just gave it to like his maid.
A fucking jacket. Like, what was Richie expecting? Like, who cares? Like, you can go buy another fucking jacket if you like. Just upset as like this goddamn bastard gave him the-
But yeah, any episode where Christopher gets shot is a good episode in my book. So
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I will give him. It really does like just kind of come up out. Sopranos does a lot of these nice moments where a kind of crazy thing kind of happens out of nowhere, and it happens in a way that you never would have thought would happen. That, oh, it's these like his guys who are like his number twos, like which Christopher cannot hold down number twos. Like
No.
last guy got shot, the other last two guys turned on him to try to move up, which crazy. I don't know what these guys are thinking. Hey, I got an idea to move up. Why don't we kill the boss's nephew? Because like
our
Tony
guy
will respect them.
I mean, we already know these guys aren't made up for this life when the one guy's taking a shit every time they break into somewhere.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So time for From Where to Eternity. Episode 9. Main part of the beginning of this is a lot of hospital discussion. Overall, basically Christopher making it, not making it, emergency surgery, Adriana having a meltdown, Carmela seeking out God's guidance, Tony trying to figure out who was behind it and talking to Richie because he figures Richie had something to fucking do with it. He ends up mentioning the kid of who was in. They're like, well, someone's going to speak about this kid at some point. Christopher ends up making it through. He's going to hell. He saw a dream of him going to hell, and his dad was there, and all the stuff and everything that goes along with hell. And if we don't change and blah blah blah, more Christopher bullshit that I don't fucking give a two shits about, to be honest with you.
Do you think the show wants us to like feel bad or worried for Christopher, or does the show know that we don't like Christopher?
I think they have to know we don't like Christopher.
I
don't
feel
know.
bad he's going to hell. He's going to like a bar too for hell. Like, what is that?
Well, let me tell you, it gets fucking more crazy because Paulie has an existential crisis about this situation. He's tough, rattled by his story. He visits a psychic, which is one of the funniest moments in the entire story whatsoever. He's with a woman. I don't know. I don't really remember.
Carla from Scrubs.
Yeah, she's in Scrubs. Yeah.
Yeah, Carla. He's with Carla from Scrubs. And he's waking up having nightmares, so he ends up going to see a fucking medium or like whatever. and is talking to the thing. And by the way, if you ever want one of the funniest clips that's ever been on TV is Paulie trying to find out what the fuck's happening with this median. And he's like looking, he's like, what the fuck you talking to? And then he ends up like going over to Paulie, like, you were his first one. Who the fuck do you know? Like, he's like, shut the fuck up. I've never laughed so hard when he picked up the chair and threw it against the wall and yelled the F word, and he was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, just crazy, like trying to get some closure to what this whole thing was.
I just love how he's finishing it up. He's like, "Yeah, you gotta leave, man." It's like, "What? What are they saying?" He's like, "Do you want me to say that?"
Shut up! No, I'm leaving. So funny. Tony's hunt for Matt is like trying to figure it out. He's on the run, failed hit on Tony. But Big Pussy ends up tracking him down to where he is located. Him, the Italian guy, and was going to go take him out. And then Tony goes, no, I want to go. I want to do this. And then he's like, but tell him to stay back. It will just be me, you and me doing this. So they end up beating up Matt pretty bad and then firing all their guns into him and killing him dead. But Pussy like doesn't do any of the wire stuff. He's like claims like he just wasn't around for it. He doesn't. While he's talking to his informant, that he finds out that there was a guy that saw a little too much of Tony and what was ended up happening with the situation. So he's like, "Are you fucking serious? Like you're supposed to tell me when this shit goes down, like I'll fucking like I'll make sure you never see the outside of my life. Like you have to be wearing a wire and find out and confirm that he tells you that he killed Matt. Like that's what I need on audio." So that situation's pretty intense. Not to mention Tony is not a very good father in this episode. AJ is going to get food. He's like, he fucking already ate. You want me to get a vasectomy? Because Carmel is pushing
This is
him to
my
get a
male
vasectomy.
heir.
This is my man. Then he shows up with pizza and this thing was like, hey, you want pizza?
I'm sorry.
It's you and me. Blah blah blah. I think I jumped a little bit on the FBI informant thing, but yeah. There's more of that in the next episode. But because I think he ends up killing him, ends up killing Matt in this episode, but we don't find out that the FBI knows about Tony until the next episode. But what were your guys' thought on this episode?
Yeah, this was a fun episode. All the Polly stuff is just fantastic. Really good comic relief stuff there.
Oh, that was
amazing. Like all of it. Just
I mean, I could do with all these people like whining about Christopher, like, oh no, Christopher, he's not gonna make it, blah 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 blah. And then of course the stuff with Tony and Pussy getting Matthew there at the end was some crazy stuff. So yeah, another solid episode.
I mean, they couldn't get the kid more than like a diet Fanta for like his last drink. Like I don't believe there's not. I don't believe there was. There was a whole wall of soda behind him. Like there was a Coca-Cola behind them somewhere. Could have had some classic Coke before you get shot a bunch of times.
Okay. Next final episode for this week is Bust Out. Main crux of it is they're all looking into Matt's death. At the beginning of this episode, finds out that Tony has somebody's seen. They have an informant that knows a little bit. We get back to Davey in the sports goods store and how Richie and Tony are just ordering a bunch of shit. He goes, "Well, what am I going to pay?" He's like, "Hey, you got the principal to pay me now? Then we worry about that when your credit runs out." So they're basically bankrupting him as it is. FBI shows up at the house and be like, "Hey, we need to talk to you because of the Matt situation." And he's like, "Do I lawyer up or whatever?" He's like, "Listen, at your early convenience, you need to come down." So he's like, "Great." That's when Big Pussy and his I don't know who's the guy he rides with in the car, the other big guy.
That's the FBI guy.
Yeah, the
FBI, yeah, I don't know his name, but he's in there, and that's when he has the discussion. Hey, I will literally take you down if you do not. He needs you to wear a wire to figure out this information. Carmelo's getting stuff around the house and finds this man and her just have sparks in the eyes, and there's some love at first sight. Gross. Then we come back to Davy on a pool table with a gun pointed towards his mouth. He's gonna end it. He ends up hearing his wife come downstairs, so he ends up putting it in the ceiling and like looking at the light. What are you doing? I'm fixing a fucking light. You got a problem?
You're the one always complaining about the felt.
Then one of the most fucked up scenes that you'll see is Richie and Tony's sister fucking with a gun to her head and saying, "You're the boss. You're the boss.
It should be you.
It should be you." What do you mean it should be you?
Why are you saying that? I can't be thinking about it.
So all this awkwardness. Then these 3 episodes have the comic relief good because Richie and her are sitting on the thing and then fucking Miss Soprano hits the stairwell on her little chair. Yeah, smoking marijuana. So she ends up Paulie, God, what is the Italian guy's name? Someone Fury?
Furio.
Oh yeah, Furio.
Furio. They all meet at the Davies thing and ends up talking about like the informant that knows something is like he's pretty tight. Like we have to find out this information. Like how serious is serious? Because he talked to his attorney. It's pretty bad. They have him dead to rights basically. And Big Pussy's over there. Yeah. What does it fucking mean then? You heard it. What does it fucking mean? Fucking shove it up your ass, like or whatever. It's just. And then Davey comes out of the thing and is like, "God, lawsuit, get back in your fucking hole." He's like, "Davey, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job." Stoney has the end of conversation with his therapist where he's like, "Hey, I could go down for something I didn't do," and she's like, "Oh, we're not going to talk about hypothetical. Then what good are you? What are you? What do I pay you for?" Like it's a classic conversation between the two of them. We're like, what the fuck are we doing actually here? Paulie finds out more information about the guy is like covered by the FBI. Like you're not gonna done. Davy's sleeping in a fucking tent. Well, Paulie has a good thing. AJ does swimming. Forgot about that, but he does swimming. Carmela goes up, but Tony was not there. Tony and Carmela get into it because he didn't show up at the thing, and he gets fucking plastered drunk while Meadow shows up and was like, turns on the light, no, turn it off. Like, no, you know I love you, kid. Like, does the whole drunk thing because he thinks he's going away for a really long time. The guy working on Carmela's house comes in and they end up going to a room and they end up making out. "Oh, I never done this before. Oh Lord, blah, blah. Oh, blah. We'll never talk about this again." You're going to talk about that again. Promise you that. What else happens? Oh, Davey and the guy that was working on Carmela's house, that's apparently his brother. They end up sitting at the thing, at the drug, talking about how much he spends and how much he's in debt. And Tony Soprano, he's like, "Oh God, what the fuck? My world's colliding. Can't wait to the cops." Chapter 11, doing all the situations, everything of that. Then one of the moments.
I'm sorry, but what a terrible scene! Like just him, like just breaking down, like at that fucking bar, like just like don't tell me you spend his college fund. Like,
oh God,
no, like
it's like that kid, I'm gonna take care of that kid. He's going to college. He's like, "Oh, you're such a good guy," but then you're done. Get out.
And then one of the funniest parts is that he goes to it goes to a couple sitting on the couch reading a newspaper, and it's like, oh, it's been notified as Matt, blah blah blah, a Soprano family associate. That fucking line. What? No, give me that. No, what is going on? Where's that detective's number?
Yeah, it just had to be the big man.
Yeah, you just had to be a big guy. Ends up, and then Tony and Paulie, they call him Tony. Apparently, that guy that saw what he saw doesn't see what he saw anymore. Sleep well, Tony. And then ends up leaving at that. And then Tony and AJ go sailing in a boat, and Davy's store is put on for lease, and that's how Bust Down works. Thoughts?
Yeah, another good episode. I mean, it was fun watching just like Davey, just his life just get completely just
And
burnt
you
down,
can't feel for anybody but
No,
him. Like
no.
he was warned.
Oh yeah, he did this to himself, but seeing it happen, and Tony pretty much tells him like, "This is what I do. These businesses are my bread and butter."
Yeah.
That conversation is great. He's like, yeah, I
Oh,
knew
yeah.
you had the store, and like, and I knew you, like, we just go through this, and you file for bankruptcy, it's all right.
And then you're done. Then when we leave you
Yeah.
alone, you can go start over somewhere.
Like, yeah, that's what was the fuck? I can't remember the other thing. I mean, that definitely was main thing of like poor Terminator. And couldn't catch a break. And like well thought, oh yeah, that was the other thing. I think that was just kind of one of the funnier things in this episode is the witness who happened to see them going in, and then hears the news like, oh, that's a Tony Soprano guy. Like, oh fuck, like it's like not the way you think. It's not like, oh, Tony and these guys are gonna have to scare them. Like he just has to read the paper and like, oh shit, you gotta recant this fucking story.
Oh yeah, he probably would have been dead if they would have got to him before that. Oh.
Facts. All right. Bad guy of the week?
Yeah.
Who you got, Mark?
I don't even really know. Like I feel like I had to go around a
Shane.
lot.
Shane killed the dog. I'm sorry, I don't care if the dog attacked you. You shot the dog. I'm out. Plus, Shane's a stupid person anyway, so getting killed by the dog would have been a win.
I'm gonna go a little bit weird because I don't really feel like she's gonna have a ton of these. Gonna go with Carmella, because she tried to withhold the acceptance letter from Meadow. She has that really weird, threatening moment with like that dean of the school, like, and then
That's fair.
She has kind of a lot of kind of weird mob bossy wife tendencies like this week. So yeah, I'll give it to her this week.
Yeah, this is pretty solid. I don't know. I think no one really jumped at me. I'll give it to Don again this week because Don just being Don.
Don was good this week. He was trying. He lied.
he got caught and he still tried to gaslight Betty.
You know what? Support
it. He tells her he loves her all the time. He says,
lying bitch.
He's like, I took you to see your dad. Aren't we cool now?
yeah, come on. He drove. He took her in the coupe. Like, come on.
Fuck you, Kenzie. I'm going to California. I need this.
Oh, that's the episode. Next week, by the way, gosh, this episode feels like a blur after everything that happened today. We'll timestamp it pretty much. But appreciate you all for watching episode 8, season finale of season 2. We will rank them amongst the rest and see where we're at. Thank you all for watching. Keep your hands on screen.
Let's take it a little slower. Wake up breakfast.
I'm a different kind of cop.
I don't wanna do your dirty work no more.